going on, everybody? It's Wednesday, so it's time for my midweek pickup. I usually don't do this, but you need to talk about it, and I try and tackle everything that's going on in the world today. So I want my audience to know, what I'm saying, my viewpoints and my where I stand in certain situations. I'm gonna talk about politics today. A lot of people aren't gonna agree with what I say. I don't care. But everybody's entitled to their own opinion, so that's cool. If you want to share your thoughts and everything, that's cool with me. I can accept criticism. I can accept your beliefs or whatever. Doesn't mean that I'm going to agree with them, but I can still accept them because, like I said, each person has their own opinion and has their own thought about what's going on. Now, yesterday was Super Tuesday. Talking about politics today, people. Yeah, sticky situation. Sticky subject, but I'm going to talk about it. Yesterday was Super Tuesday, and on the Democratic side, I'm talking about my state. Hillary won Texas, and I believe Rubio won Texas for the Republican side. Now, I'm not dissing nobody's party or whatever the case may be. I don't agree with everything in everybody's party, Republican and Democrat, but I am voting Democratic. Now, what's funny to me and what's still going on is this, I guess it's more of a charade now. Well, it's not even a charade anymore. It's like reality, real life. Donald Trump, I know most of you know because I reference a lot of things in my midweek pickups, but I'm a comic book dude, you know what I'm saying? I look at DC comics, I watch Marvel movies, you know what I'm saying, DC movies, whatever the case may be. But right now, it kind of seems like that alternate universe where Lex Luthor, the nemesis of Superman, if you don't know who he is, but Lex Luthor becomes president of the United States. And it seems like that's where we're going in the direction of with Donald Trump. Now, like I said, a lot of things that I say may be offensive to certain people. I don't care if you don't. If you think that I'm going to say something that you're not going to like, you might as well turn it off right now. But I'm going to speak on this because somebody has to, and I feel like it's my duty to share certain thoughts that I have with people that listen to my midweek pickups. So, Donald Trump, at first, I thought it was a little gimmick. I thought that, after a while that he would, go on and back out the race and everything and let the real politicians do what they have to do. But I see that it's not really about politics anymore. And sometimes it hasn't been about politics, period, in the past. But it's not really about politics. Now it's about who can catch America's attention the most, either if it's good or bad attention. And it also seems like they're trying to put anybody in office that can discredit or douse a negative light on things that President Obama has done. And President Obama, to me, has done a good job. A lot of people will disagree with me, especially people in the oil industry, because jobs are lost and gas prices are, lower than what they used to be and everything. But when you look at the statistics and the unemployment rate and the medical coverage of people in America, and you see how they've changed from the administration before his last term or whatever, the Bush administration, versus now, yes, a lot of the rich people are not as rich as they used to be, supposedly, which I think that they are, still doing pretty good for themselves, but at the same time, it's kind of affecting the middle and lower class of America. But, things have changed. The unemployment rate has dropped. More people are getting jobs. But now when it's coming to the end of his term, it seems like every company is starting to lay people off. Every company is making it to where, people who've been invested in this company for 20 years plus, are losing their jobs, losing their homes, losing everything that they've worked for because, now this is my opinion only, because they're trying to prove a point. They're trying to make President Obama look like he did a horrible job, and they're trying to twist it. They're trying to make the unemployment rates go up versus where they were down, before everything really kind of kicked off, because if you really look at it, yes, there have been layoffs and everything in the oil industry, a lot more now than they were before. But at the same time, it's a way lot more now versus previous years. Now, a few years ago, there were some layoffs. A few years before that, not many, but there were some. And a few years before that, it really wasn't nothing. Everything was it wasn't on the straight and narrow, but it was straighter than what it is now. And, with the blatant racism that Obama's putting out there against every culture and race other than his own, is dumbfounding. I don't even see how he could still be in the running for president or anything like that right now, because of the blatant disrespect that he's shown. It's been many people who went to his rallies and protest, because that's what people do when people are trying to run for president. You have your you have your people who come to support, and you have your people who do not agree with your standings, and they're going to come to protest. Each time somebody has come to protest against Donald Trump's campaign, they've either been thrown out in a way that they should not have been thrown out, or it's something to where they try to belittle the person and try and pretend like it's not racial when it really is. And then, they make the person feel, smaller than themselves. It was one where you can constantly see a police officer or a security guard, whoever it is, constantly pushing this lady, out of the rally because she was not agreeing with the things that Donald Trump was putting out there. Now, it's one thing if a person is disrupting or disruptive towards what's going on. But if you're just standing there and you're holding a sign or whatever and you're doing your chants, and this guy has the microphone or whatever, he kind of has the floor a little bit more than the person who's ranting or raving or whatever the case may be. But if it's not disruptive ranting, if it's just something that's regular, then I don't see how you can throw somebody out, push them, and keep pushing them until they get out, or even tell them, that your kind is not wanted here. What kind of crap is that? What kind of message does that send? I'm going to tell you what kind of message it sends. The type of message that type of behavior sends, because it's only against, like I said, certain groups, certain cultures, and that are not on the same wavelength as Donald Trump's group and culture or whatever. But it's racism with makeup put on it. That's what I like to call it, because they try and make it seem a little softer than what it really is, but then they still give you that little hint, that little inch of racism in there, which to me makes everything cloudy and blurry off top. Even if, they do the praises and, it was 3 black people at the rally this time that was for Donald Trump, and then it was this one bad egg that got into the campaign rally or whatever and said what they had to say, and they had to be escorted out, in a ruthless fashion sometimes, and it was one guy that I seen a clip on that he was for Donald Trump, and he was a black man or whatever, and he got escorted out as well, and they told him that his kind was not welcome there. And that raises questions to some, but it doesn't raise questions to all, because majority always rules. I said this to my cousin earlier, majority always rules. So it's just like the media as well. If they're not putting out the real negative and the real about the situation, and they're trying to make it pretty and glamorize it, put makeup on it to kind of try and cover it up or downgrade it from what it really is, we're in a lot of trouble, because now it's becoming more acceptable, and people are tending to, I don't want to say smell themselves, but they're tending to feel that a power shift is happening. And, he's always saying that he wants to make America better, or make it, change it, whatever his little slogan is or whatever. But I mean, I thought that America was pretty fine and has been fine for the last few years of, minus a few hangups or miscalculations that has happened. But what you're trying to actually change it into is something that it already was years ago. Now, I'm not saying that all went away a few years ago. I'm just saying that makeup was put on it so it makes it look a little bit better. So it makes racism look like it's not really racism, but it is if you want to do your homework and your history on it. But racism is racism. It's not. It doesn't matter how pretty you make it look. Underneath all that makeup, you still got the ugly face of racism. So what are you really trying to accomplish here? I'm gonna tell you what you're trying to accomplish. You're trying to accomplish a divide between one side and another side. Now, a lot of people are going to say you can't even say that because it's not a divide. It's not black and white or whatever the case may be. And no, it's not black and white. It's actually almost white and everybody else. And with that, we're not changing America to become better. We're segregating America and making it a lot worse than what it was before. Now, I believe I voted a couple times before on Super Tuesday, but this time was different. And if I'm mistaken, that's my mistake. But everything was segregated on my side of town. It was like you go to this school for Democratic polling, and then you can go to that school if you want to vote for Republican. And back in the day, back when I couldn't vote, it used to be perceived that voting is such a secret thing or whatever. It's supposed to be something it was like you're not even supposed to tell your wife who you voted for type thing. Because people used to try and keep it under wraps or whatever, like it was something that was concealed or whatever the case you may be. But now to see it segregated like this, it almost reminds me of things that I've read in history books about the way different races were either not even different races, how black people were enslaved and how colored only can use this fountain, colored only can go to this restroom, or you can't come in here because you're colored, whatever the case may be. Now, like I said, I may be mistaken because I think I probably only voted on Super Tuesday maybe twice, but 2 or 3 times. But I've never seen it to where you have to go to a certain school if you want to vote for Democrats, and you have to go to a certain school if you want to vote for Republicans. I've never really seen that happen, but I guess it's something that's starting to happen a lot, or whatever the case may be. But what's really going on is we are facing a time where the most disrespected president in history, President Obama, is leaving office, which was a great president. But since the change that he made was so powerful when he came into office, now it's time to tear that change down and put it back to the way it was before he came. And that's what I think that America's really trying to do. Like I said, these are my opinions, and I'm going to share them with the world, whether people like it or not. But just like in the comic books or whatever, when Lex Luthor became president, sooner or later all hell broke loose. And all hell is breaking loose and cracking right now, even with the thought of Donald Trump becoming president. But he's actually winning states. So, I mean, I know everybody here, so you gotta go vote, you gotta go vote. It is drastically important now for anybody and everybody who can vote to go and vote. Because if Donald Trump wins, it's not going to just be certain groups that are going to be in trouble. It's going to be the whole entire country. And when I say that, I'm not saying it in a racial way. I'm just saying it because he doesn't know what he's doing. He wants to build walls to keep people out. And it almost sounds communist, if you will. But he does not know what he's doing. And to have somebody in office that does not know what they're doing is something that's going to make America look as weak and as vulnerable, more so ever now than before. And you better trust and believe people are thinking about, what's going to happen if he does become president, or what's going to happen when somebody does actually really want this guy in power or whatever. What's going to happen to America as a whole? We're going to take a big loss, and a lot of people who think they're not going to be in a bad boat are going to be in a bad boat. So with that being said, like I said, I don't usually touch on politics, but it's something that needs to be addressed. Do whatever you can to not get Donald Trump into office. If that means waiting in a line for an hour to cast your vote, do it. Vote for people who have some type of knowledge of what it means to run a state, a country, not just corporations and businesses, because it's a lot more to running a state or a country than it is to running a business. It's a certain level that you have to reach in order to really be in control, like really in control of millions of people's lives and livelihood. And I just don't think Donald Trump has that. So with that being said, just wanted to get my little political rant on this Wednesday or whatever. Everybody do everything. Every time I do my midweek pickup, I say the same thing: put God first, family second, everything else will follow. This is true. Make sure that you go out and vote, and just know how important it is, not only for you, but for your children and your children's children's future. Because this one time where it really matters, and I know that we thought that it was that one time where it really mattered about 8 years ago, but this is a little bit more important this time. You don't want unqualified people running your country. Period.